So I'm going to go ahead and get us started as you guys are doing that. So my name is Shelley Reynolds, and I'm with the University of Missouri Kansas City Institute for Human Development. And I am at our University Center on Excellence in Developmental Disabilities. And I'm very excited to partner with Missouri Assistive Technology on these monthly open doors series that we've been hosting. Just to give you a little bit of backdrop into where these came from and why we're doing these, we are the designated Missouri No Wrong Door grantee. And so we've really taken that as an opportunity to really think about what is it that front door staff need to do their job well, and help people explore, problem solve, and plan. But it's not just the front door staff of your intake workers or your navigators or your case managers. It's also the people that you support, as well as their families or their caregivers. And it's also about how do we all learn from each other. And so these are an opportunity for us to kind of bring you together and do that. The No Wrong Door initiative, though, works on other things as well. We work on statewide, stakeholders group that comes together and talks about sharing information across systems, recognizing that we need to be talking to the aging system, the early childhood system, the voc rehab system, that we represent people across the lifespan, and we represent all types of disabilities. And so how can we all work together? And so the No Wrong Door is a place to bring us all together for that learning and sharing. We're also charged with developing over a two-year period, a governance plan on how to help the front door staff be more connected and have the tools they need to do their job. The other really big focus is how do we elevate the use of technology in everyday lives across the entire state of Missouri, both in terms of the people that need to utilize the technology, but also the others that are serving and supporting people that use those. So what we've done in response to that is we've started to host these Missouri Open Doors series. We really see these series as opening doors to possibilities. So that's what the door is. So those doors could be to services and supports, or those doors could be to the life that somebody wants to live. We are actually launching a brand new series starting, I think, next month. There'll be a slide at the end where we're really going to also talk about benefits. And we're going to start with Medicare, and understanding people that are eligible for Medicare, and then eventually move into Medicaid and some of the other government assistance. So people from all the different systems can learn about all the different government benefit programs. So it'll be another short 1 hour sort of overview, just like this, hosted at the same time of the day on the second Wednesdays of the month. So all of these we try to have them so that they're practical, fast, so that you get quick information. We know how busy everybody is, and we hope it helps you support you in your job or give you resources that you don't know about. So you guys joined today for us to really share with you ideas on how to enhance supports for writing, drawing, and expressing ourselves. So really thinking about communication. So when we met as a planning team and we were kind of really thinking about this, we think that, as you probably do too, is that communication is vital to who we are as a human being. It's vital to how we express ourselves. It's vital to how we have choice in our life and make decisions and share our love and our ideas and all those things. We also know that people have many types of communication. Some people might not verbally use words. They might use sign language. They might use their facial expressions or their eye blinks. Some people might use their behaviors as a form of communication. Some people might write things or type things, or maybe they need things delivered in a graphical or visual aid to communicate what they want. So there's lots of forms of communication. And so we're hoping you'll walk out of here really thinking about the people that you support and all of the ways that they communicate. And are there things that we can do with technology or assistive technology that can better support and enhance that communication for the individual or for the receiver of that information? The No Wrong Door is also really trying to help give you guys practical tools for really thinking about problem solving and planning with people. And we utilize the Charting the Life course framework for really driving home those person-centered practices. And so that framework is a way to really explore possibilities, help to problem solve and plan, and hopefully to give other people ideas and expectations of what's possible that they might not be thinking about. So the life course framework, although we don't spend a ton of time going over that, it's a way to give you guys things to think about when you're having conversations, when you're planning for technology or you're planning for any life outcomes. It also gives a set of tools that you can use that I'll introduce you to. At the heart of the framework, though, is this idea that we want to help figure out any person with or without a disability, the best ways to support them. How are they leveraging their community resources, technology, relationship-based supports, so that either the disability services themselves or the disability that they have is actually not a barrier to them either communicating or having the life that they want to live. So the first thing that when you think about communication and communication styles, and this is my friend Ben that I put up there, you should be thinking about what is that person, what are their current assets and strengths, what's important to them and for them when they're communicating. And so I'm utilizing Ben to help me kind of really think through this. And if you think about communication and think about what domain of life that fits into, it crosses every single domain. Our day-to-day lives require communication with the people around us. If we have a job, if we volunteer, if we go to school, we have to communicate about our health and what's happening to our bodies and how are we interacting with the medical system and keeping ourselves healthy. It's also very important, obviously, to communicate what our needs are as we advocate and make our choices and set our goals to be heard. But we also know that communication is important to ensuring our safety and being able to communicate if something's wrong or something's bothering us, but also what our choices are. And we also know that communication is a big part of relationships. So we communicate in many ways, right? We might use the phone, we might use the computer, we might use social media. So we might meet in person. So thinking about all of the places and all the ways and all the reasons why communication is so vital to everything that we do. So we talk about the concept of trajectory all the time when we're thinking about this. So even though we're here to hone in on communication, we have to understand what Ben defines as his good life. And so for us, he's communicated to us that his girlfriend, his tattoos, fire station are really important to him. One of the things I'm going to hone in, though, is hiring and training his own self-directed staff are really, really important to Ben. And so Ben might not always use the correct words to communicate, or he's not always able to express himself. So when we start thinking about how to help Ben communicate what he wants, we started to think about this. And so here's one of the tools around communication. And so our vision is to help Ben communicate better. So when we really think about this with Ben, he wants to express himself to his families and others, but he also really importantly wants to communicate what he wants from a staff when he hires them and how to best train those staff. But Ben also wants to be able to communicate and express himself through his art and his creativity. And so this helps us as a planning team start thinking about, okay, what's the first outcome and activity we really want to help Ben work on? So we sat down with Ben and said, okay, you want to communicate for hiring new staff. So we used the problem solving star and said, how can we go about best communicating with new staff? And so Ben likes to go places. So we thought, well, could his family or his staff take pictures of the places he goes in the community to help people see where he likes to go and ask his staff if they like to go those places? We could use a computer to make the book with or to download the pictures. We also can use his family, his brother and his mom to really also make sure that book has what's in that. So he could use his picture book to describe those things. So here's a couple of examples of pages out of his book. So for him, Verbally and using words to communicate might not always get the message across to his staff or to a new staff he's wanting to hire, but he can sit down with his visual aid and really communicate what's important to him, what his goals are, and what he really doesn't like to do. So for Ben, when we think about communication, we're thinking about, pictures and a picture book, or can he show them on his phone, or can he use Facebook, or those different things. So that's a really quick story to help you kind of think about communication in all the many different styles and ways, but to really keep us grounded in what that person wants to communicate, how they want to communicate it, and why they want to communicate it. So the really interesting part comes from Scout, and I'm going to pass it over to Scout, who's really going to hone in on that part of that star about what are the different types of assistive technology and adaptive equipment that really helps people communicate and express themselves the way they want to. So Scout, I'm passing it over to you.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. And as Shelley said, communication is such a big part. So I'm going to ask you which method is proper. Okay, so don't answer until we get to the next slide. All right, so our first slide shows somebody peeling an orange, holding the orange in one hand, sticking their thumb under the peel with the other hand. All right, so that's one. Number two is somebody who has cut 6 sections with a knife and is then unfolding the orange by sections. Okay, number 3 is the Martha Stewart method, which is cutting off the top and the bottom of the orange, and then you can either slice discs or slice down the peel and remove it that way. All right, so here the next slide will say, go ahead and put in the chat the one way that is correct, 1, 2, or 3. Okay, go ahead. And if you don't get your answer into the chat, we will still you can still hold it in your head. Okay, remember 1, 2, or 3. These are your options to choose. Oh, some people are not playing by the rules. All right, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so wait, the winner is, I'm sorry, we got a little ahead of ourselves. The winner is, of course, there is no winner, right? Because Paul might want to peel his orange one way, Michelle another, and Julie or Courtney yet another way. I mean, so it all depends on, here we go. It all depends on our skills. It depends on also our abilities. And if you can't use a knife, you're not going to choose the option 2 and 3. But it also depends on our preferences. Some people don't want orange peel underneath their thumbnail, right? And the last option for this is it also depends on the available technology. I showed a knife. I didn't show one of those orange peeler things. So of course, there is no absolute way to peel an orange. So why is this relevant today? Well, if we think about writing, I think we can pop to the next slide. So for those of us who have a few years under our belt, when we think about writing, just think about it. We probably think about pen or paper to pencil. Now, let's just say those of us who are 50 or older, think about this first generally. But now if we were 250 or older, when we think about writing, let's go to the next slide. We might think about a quill and an inkwell, right? Most of us aren't 250 years old, so this is not what we think of first. But a long time ago, this was what constituted writing, the form. Now, for many folks who maybe are younger, when you think about writing, let's go to the next slide. The first thought might be writing on a computer, even though many of us that of any age might do most of our writing on our computer, it might not be what we first think about when we think about writing or expressing ourselves or communicating. So, when we go into this, which way is correct, like peeling an orange, and which way is common, we come up with some things of like, okay, is holding a pencil a different way? Is that incorrect? And then the next slide shows somebody with holding a pencil with a pencil grip. And, we have to wonder, is this fair? If I get to use a pencil grip and you don't, is that a fair way of writing? And then even the next slide shows a woman who is talking to her phone. So when we think about writing, and, is that cheating? Maybe depends on your setting, right? So, and we're not going to get into Chat GPT or anything like that today. But the fact is, when we think about writing or expressing or communicating, there are all these variations of ways that we do this. And that's really what I want to kind of just have you thinking about, is what our preconceived thoughts are about writing, which, might be pen and paper. But really, there are so many ways. Like when most of us think about writing, we don't generally think about our two thumbs. But how many of us do a lot of communicating with our phones with two thumbs? Now, I know a lot of people send text by voice, but, I still text regularly with my thumbs. But it is absolutely not how I think about writing. All right, so we're going to keep moving. So how we think about writing and expressing ourselves can have a lot to do with our preconceived notions of what is right or normal for us. But how we actually write and express ourselves can really vary depending on all kinds of things: our skills, our abilities, our preferences, and technology. Okay. So real quick, we're going to review the definition of assistive technology, which is any item, whether it's a pencil grip or a phone, that you can acquire or modify to increase, maintain, or improve the functional capabilities of somebody with a disability. But there is also that service. So any service that assists with selection, acquisition, or use. So maybe somebody needs to try a few different pencil grips, or maybe somebody needs help finding a good app that is going to work for their needs. So that selection or even that training to use that app is part of assistive technology service. All right, we can move. So when we think about, writing and communicating, we have to think about, what really are our goals? Is it physically to write text on paper, or maybe to draw with a variety of mediums, or to convey a message, compose an email, or this thing that, I don't know if you've heard of it, letters, or maybe a Twitter post? Is the goal to recreate an image, or create an image, or design something, or just to get our message across? All right, so we can, and when we look at assistive technology, of course, a great way to break things down into kind of manageable ways to think about it are accommodations. And that would be something that is there and ready to go. It's just maybe a shift in the way things are done. Low tech tools, which, like a pencil grip, something very simple, off the shelf, easy to use, doesn't really take much training. Or maybe something with medium technology, which requires a little bit of training, a little bit of use, might require charging, those kinds of things. High tech, which you maybe want to have a trial before you buy, because it's something a little bit more complex and some of the features might not work. needs more training. Often electronic devices, generally more expensive. All right. We're gonna break down today. There are so many tools available for writing, drawing, expression, and communication. And so we're gonna look at some low-tech tools first, and then some kind of mid and high. What I'm not really covering today is a lot of communication devices. So that would be a whole separate. There are so many ways to break down this topic. So we're looking at some low-tech options first. The writing bird is a piece of acrylic that holds a pencil so that the pencil rests flat on the paper, and it helps stabilize the hand, provides a large gripping area, uses arm strength instead of grip strength, and it makes it has a smooth bottom so it slides easily over the paper. It's actually very nice. It's really helpful for folks with any kind of tremor. There are advantages and disadvantages to any device. This is just one to know about, and can be useful in the right situation. All right, let's go to the next one. So the pen again, Ergo Soft. See, I'm gonna say there was a spell check put on this because it is actually SOF, Soft Grip Pen. Strange. This one takes away the need to actually grip this item. So it's an ergonomic design to minimize stress. It guides the hand. So you just place your finger in this groove through the U, and it is just a whole different way to hold a writing device. So it's supposed to help with reducing fatigue. I actually just met with an office, and the woman said, I don't want to grip the pen. And so this would be an option that would help with that. All right. Sometimes you just need a box of rocks. Rocks in a box. I really love this because it really does shake up the what is a writing and drawing item. This has an ergonomic shape. It can develop hand strength and fine motor. Obviously, these are designed for children, but if we think about just expressing ourselves, there's no particular need to hold a crayon when you can hold a rock. And I think we all can agree there is no wrong way to hold a rock. So I like that one. All right. The weighted pencil holder, I think, is a really nice option for a couple of reasons. I think one of the best uses of this is the sensory feedback. So a pen or a pencil or even a crayon, they're very, very light. And for folks that need a little bit more feedback, this weighted holder, so you put any device in there that will fit, and it just adds that weight to let somebody know that they really have something in their hand. It is also used, for tremors at times, and it can strengthen hand muscles. But I really love that sensory feedback option of this. Okay, this is our commercial break. So we have a lending library, and one of the things that can be found in our lending library is our writing kit. And in our writing kit includes 12 items. So if this is something you would like to check out, you can see all the list of all 12 items on our website at at.mo.gov /device loan. You can also borrow these individually. So I'm not going to talk about all the items today, but you can go peruse them and, like I said, borrow them as a kit or individually. And sometimes we take our hands right out, even in low-tech options of the writing task. So this is a mouth stick that will hold a writing device. In the picture, it's holding a pencil, and the pencil can be, the angle can be changed, which, you know, is a great option. It's quite long, which can help so you're not having neck strain, because most people don't have their whatever they're writing on right in front of their face. So this length adds to that kind of ergonomic ease. All right. So also we can look at things that are just, you know, just for that expression, that self-expression. And so adult coloring books are a great option. No design required. You can focus on color selection. It's relaxing. Lots of different skill levels available. I like that they're reproducible. When I was teaching, that was fantastic. So just kind of a nice, fun thing. I think I have one more. Yes, my 11th hour edition. I just found this. I actually have a sample solid tempera paint, which I just thought was kind of fun. And, you know, I think about the folks who might want to paint, but maybe the folks who support them, they think it's too messy. It's not for my person. They can't do this. They can't do that. They might throw the paint. And so this comes in basically a glue stick size container. It's fast drying. I just think it opens up painting, and it is very much like paint, opens up painting to a lot more folks. So I threw it in. All right, now we're gonna slide into some mid-tech devices. We're gonna slide in kind of easily, and then these are kind of some blurry lines. This is called the guided hands, and it is actually fairly low tech, but I just moved it into mid tech. So this moves along both the X and Y axis. So there are rails at the edge of this device, and your hand rests on the holder, and you can move it all around the tray. So so it promotes guided. It works with guided hand movement, uses gross motor. The handpiece is tailored to meet different needs, and the holder is compatible with lots of different items. We did just get this in our lending library. It's kind of a new item on the market, but I think it's has a really great place. So we can move on. So Zot Art Tools, I put in a quote. I'm going to go ahead and read it. It says, rather than finding ways for people with disabilities to participate in activities for non-disabled people, we created an entirely new activities and projects for people with disabilities and invite those without disabilities to join. So the picture is of a girl using a walker, and she's got connected to her walker these large pieces of chalk in a holder. And so she's making really large art in a way that she's probably never been able to before. Their variety of tools, it's a wide variety. So I wanted to put the website zotarts.com if anybody's interested in checking those out. I couldn't really list features because there's just a wide variety of tools. All right. And then, of course, there's apps for drawing and painting. I do think that creating is a way we communicate, and that being able to do that with an app, I mean, you know, you can make a picture, but there's lots of other things that we can create with pictures that really aid in our communication in a variety of ways. So I listed out some apps for iOS. So, Paintbrush, Artboard, Made with Mischief, Drawberry, and Sketch are some of the ones that are available on the iOS platform. And I believe all these are exclusive to Apple. And then we have our Android ones that, funny enough, are not exclusive to Android. They are also some of these available for Mac. Yes, for Mac. So Medibang Paint, Clip Studio Paint, Sketchbook by Autodesk, Infinite Painter, Ibis Paint X. And a lot of these apps have line smoothing, where you can fill in and you can fill in a whole section, with color. Lots of great tools for making different kinds of graphic images, comic images, freeform images. So lots of different, like I said, ways to express with these apps. Okay. And I'm kind of taking this a little bit with this slide with literacy supports. I like the idea of our communicating really like building. And so I look at this, I was talking to the folks at Lesson Picks about how if you've had a stroke or if your communication has changed and you're trying to rebuild those skills, connecting the word to the image can really help support that language to come back. And of course, this is a great tool for language learners who are just, starting out with their literacy journey. But this one, it has letters you can draw in plus that image. I just thought that was a nice way to kind of connect those options. And then I also added in the next slide, I thought it was a different slide. So Co-Writer is a great program, and we're kind of sliding into some higher tech here. Co-Writer is a great program that has word prediction. So if you're trying to write something, you want to communicate, but how do you get those words out? Spelling can be a huge barrier. And so the word prediction in Co-Writer can really support somebody who it's hard to make all those keystrokes, or who has trouble spelling. Lots of ways that you can have that text read back to confirm you are saying what you intended to say. Can help spell really tough words like rhythm. And when I wrote that in there, I spelled it wrong to check it. There are speech recognition options in programs, in this program and other programs that can really support writing and communication. Okay. All right. Let's look at some high-tech options. Like I said, we're kind of sliding into those in the last couple. So I said I wasn't going to talk about basic communication devices, but I did put one in because we do want everybody to know there is a wide variety of communication devices just to help get that message out for folks who either don't have verbal communication or don't have strong verbal communication in every setting. And one of the things that they can come with are key guards. So dedicated devices or apps for communication can really support language and writing. Key guards can be a benefit to help guide that touch to the actual location the user wants. The key guards can help keep your hands off the device, and they can aid in that visual selection. All right, and we can go to the next slide. I am spending a little bit more time on key guards for a reason. So key guards can be customizable. They can also be 3D printed for some devices. All right, and we can go on to the next slide. So really to get to get your voice out there. Dragon Professional is a great program. It is a speech recognition software program for Windows. It has very high accuracy. There is, these days, very little training needed to set up a profile. This says Dragon Professional. In the picture, it says version 16. Back in the day, it took a while to set up a profile. These days, it's that setup is just very fast. This program can learn your favorite phrases. It can learn acronyms, proper names. Now, this does take a while to learn how to robustly use the program. There's a lot of commands that you have to incorporate to use this, but then it can really be a window into a lot of great communication for lots of folks. All right. The Head Mouse Nano is I was going to say a fairly simple one. It is head tracking. So, it's simple to use. It's a plug and play access method that really doesn't take a whole lot of training. It works by placing a dot. Some people put it right on their forehead. Some people put it on glasses or a hat. I've just seen where there's a young woman who positioned the head mouse in a place and put the dot on her hand because that's what she could move well. And she just had slight movements with her hand and accessed her computer. And of course, the computer is more than communication, but what a great way to be able to, get into this device that most of us use for communicating in our daily lives. And you can, with this, your selections can be made in a variety of ways, including dual or with switches. And it's powered by the host device, which I think is really nice. You don't have to charge it. Okay, we can move on. So the PCI, when I was thinking about this today, I was like, this is probably the highest cost per square inch because it's a very small device and it's incredibly powerful. So the PCI is an eye tracker from Tobii Dynavox, and that you can use to control your computer. So it can replace your keyboard and mouse and allow full access to your computer. Now, most people probably, you don't start by using eye gaze to control a computer, but I actually was working with a young man and he was like, I really want eye gaze. I want an eye gaze bar. And I was trying to get him to use other access methods. I was like, there's these really cool glasses, there's these other options. And then I realized that to use his computer using the really cool glasses, the glass house, his personal care attendant would have to come to his home and put those on him in the morning. And then after they leave for the day, he would have no access to his computer because he can't put them on and off independently. But the PCI was able to give him complete independence for all his communicating needs, which I thought was really great. So he did not have enough movement to really access his computer independently, especially after about 15 minutes. He could use a mouse, but he would get fatigued so quickly. Anyway, long story, but strong device for some. Okay. Oh, so what I wanted to do now was show you some ways that folks express themselves with some of these options. So this is by Sarah Ezekiel, and she made this, which is a picture of red, I must call them poppies, with a sky, a kind of a blue sky behind and green below And she did this, yeah, using eye gaze. I just thought that was amazing. And then the next one, this is actually a graphic artist. His name is Patrick Dean, who he was a graphic artist for his living, and he got ALS, and long into his diagnosis, he was still able to draw with his hand. Somebody would have to physically put the pencil in his hand, and he used an artist's glove, and he would continue to draw. But when that no longer worked, he moved to eye gaze and was able to continue. And there's a picture of a man with his knee up, sitting down, his knee is up, and his arm is resting on his knee, and his head is resting on his hand. And I didn't get this guy's name, but this is a man he's not using a mouth stick, he's just putting the paintbrush in his mouth. But his quote is, "I have a burning desire to create. So I have to unleash my emotions and my creative juices out on the canvas." So this is a man who has quadriplegia and is painting a really beautiful, I think, although that is subjective, picture of fields, purple fields, like in rows, maybe growing lavender or something, and then the sky above that. He had some really beautiful paintings to choose from. This was the one I could get the best shot of. And then I've got a couple more. So I will say this picture, which is a kind of black and brown orange picture of a face. It doesn't look really great, but his pictures were small, and so I tried to kind of blow it up. But his paintings were very interesting. I also didn't get his name. But I have his quote: "Mostly I just use 3 colors because it is difficult to mix my paint. I'm mostly focused on a minimal amount of paint and positive and negative space." So there's a lot of black in his painting. But he also was using just a paintbrush in his mouth, but some really cool ways to express. All right, so now my last artist this is a graphic design by Kathleen Weinshank, and this one is entitled Stillness. And we're just going to go through. The next one is titled Light from the East, also by Kathleen. And then the next picture is a picture of Kathleen. And this is a picture of Kathleen in her wheelchair in front of a mural of a butterfly. So it does look like the wings of the butterfly are attached to her. It's kind of a perfect image for Kathleen, and above it, it says, "Kindness changes everything." Kathleen was an artist, I think, most of her adult life. And I don't know what program she used, but I do know that the key guard was the reason she could make art, because she needed to rest her entire hand on her device to be able to make selections. Kathleen is somebody that has inspired me. She is quite a wonderful woman. All right, I think I've got one more image. Yeah. So the image on the screen now is an adult who has a very happy look on her face, and a child, looks like in a stander, who is holding an adapted grip paintbrush and is painting red paint on paper and just looks thrilled. And so for me, any way that we can express ourselves, get either our emotions out or get our words, and whether it's because we're trying to self-advocate or we're trying to tell a joke to a caregiver or a family member, or make a grocery list. Any way that we can get those expressions out, I think, is really important for us to be able to do as independently as possible. So we've got a couple more things, but those are the end of the pictures. So a couple things to consider when it comes to technology. All right. So the first thing we have to do is either have or get a device. And so when we are searching, what are we going to use? So we first look around us. Do we already have something? Or do we need to go out and get something new? If we go out and get something new, even if we have it, do we really know the full function of it? So if we've been, using a phone and we move to a smartphone, do we really know the function of it? If we move to that computer, what else do we need to learn? If we're using that voice assistant, do we know how to use that pause to really get them to listen to us? But we also need to learn how to maintain our devices. So, the low-tech stuff doesn't really need a lot of maintenance, but as we build with those technology, we really have to make sure we have the supports in place to maintain our devices. So, what we want to also think about is, where do we purchase things and where do we learn? So there's all kinds of places to find our technology. A lot of it is becoming kind of more pedestrian. So you can go to the Apple store, you can go to Best Buy or Walmart, or you can go to the specialty vendors. So there's lots of places now to just get different things. And how do we learn about it? We can learn about assistive technology in such a huge variety of ways. Maybe your college, sometimes Parks and Rec have these cool programs for a variety of different abilities. Senior focused agencies, and of course us at Missouri Assistive Technology. When I help people get different devices, I often ask, do you have kids or grandkids who can help you with this? Because as we age, that technology is somehow like a little bit more foreign. And to the younger generation, I like to think about, they are native speakers of the technology language. So they are often a great resource. Social service providers can be helpful. Of course, different websites and newsletters and newspapers, from whether they're assistive technology focused or senior focused, they often include information on devices, because we're all using them. Okay, and just as a recap from a past mod, some of the funding sources for assistive technology, we look at the different areas of the STAR to look at how are we going to fund a device. So it might be a personal way. We might just be able to have our own money and go out and buy something, whether we have to save up for that or whether it's a low-cost item. Or we might reach out to our friends and family. I have talked with many folks, and as it comes into like October, and I'm showing them a device that might be a couple $100, I'm like, well, do you have, a couple of kids? Maybe they want to get together and get you this for Christmas, or any other holiday. All right. But we can also look into what kind of relationships do we have. Like we might look in our community and set up a GoFundMe. We might get a loan from somebody we know. We might have friends or family teach us, so we don't have to pay for that. And then we can, there are eligibility specific ways to fund things, of course. And I think many of us that work with folks with disabilities, we tend to gravitate towards those. We want to make sure we know all of those, but we also like to keep in mind they are not the only way to fund things. But of course, Medicaid and waivers and Medicare and ABLE accounts and educator options. We have a variety of funding sources, including our TAP programs and our financial loan program. So there's all different ways that, of course, Voc Rehab will fund some things, all different ways to fund equipment through eligibility specific options. And then those other community options, like employers will fund some needed equipment. Mo Better might fund something, charitable organizations. There's just a wide variety of community resources to go to look for some funding for those devices. And then we have our technology piece, and a lot of that. How great is it that we now have access to YouTube for training videos on all kinds of things? And then, lots of different things we can search for and find out reviews about by using our technology, by using Google or some other way to find out what's out there and if it might meet our needs. All right, so lots of different ways. All right, we're going to do a quick, some of the quick info about Missouri Assistive Technology. We do have TAP programs, which are our TAP telephone program and our TAP for Internet program can provide phones and computer access equipment to Missourians. There are some guidelines that can be found on our website. We have a device loan program, which I mentioned earlier. It is free of charge, and it is a great way to learn about or try out different assistive technology. We have financial loans, which for somebody who is looking to get something but don't have all the money for it, but can swing a payment, it is a great option for a way to fund assistive technology. And we have lots of information and assistance about assistive technology because we have 9 of us that work here that think about assistive technology every single day. So we are a great place to find some information. And we have some numbers at the side. 2020 numbers. 6,339 folks were provided assistive technology devices through us in 2020, and 17,415, that might include some of you, that attended a training or demonstration or used some other services that we provide. So we would love to have those numbers grow because we would love to be able to have everybody know what we know about assistive technology. So thanks all for joining us, and I'm not looking if there's any questions. So.
All right, thank you, Scout. Before we go ahead and wrap up some things, I just wanted to ask really quickly if anybody had any questions for Scout. You could put them in the chat and we will get to those. Some quick announcements. If this is your first time at one of our Tech Series mods, welcome. Thank you for joining us. You will now be added to the listserv if you weren't already. These are always recorded and they get posted to our YouTube channel at Charting a Life course, and they will also be sent out as a PDF of the slides as well. And our next one will be May 24th. And then for our new benefit series, which we're very excited to start hosting, the first one will be May 10th. I'm going to go ahead and send the link to register to that in the chat. And I do see we had a couple of questions. Any specific website for the iReaders, Scout?
The eye gaze. So if you're talking about eye gaze, that's a Tobii Dynavox product. And so we can give you more information about that, or you can go straight to Tobii Dynavox with TOBII DYNA Dynavox. Yeah.
And then we also have, do you have the PCI with the ability to loan to families?
I believe we do have one in our inventory right now. If Brenda, if you know for sure, you can jump that in. But I believe we do have one. Yeah, give us a call and we'll make sure everything is compatible.
All right, and then our website at Life Course Tools, if you wanted to check out any of the other Charting the Life Course tools that we have available on there. I will also send out in our wrap up from the month a copy of the funding star that Scout briefly went over. As you can see, there were a lot of options on there, so I will make sure to get that to you all so that you can spend a little bit more time with that. Our showcase is next week, the 2nd through the 4th. If any of you on here are going to be there, we look forward to seeing you. It's always a very exciting time. We also have our Missouri Family to Family Good Life groups. And these are going to be the 3rd Wednesday of every month at 12:30. So that's the same day and time as both of the mods, just on a different week. Those are open to, it's an interactive peer learning, collaborative, hands-on learning to build a capacity of self-advocates and family members. And that is all. Thank you all again for being here. And if you have any additional questions, you can reach out to either Scout or I, and we'll be happy to help you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.